I'm Brian McCarthy from Always Home, and one of the questions we get from a lot of our clients is, what about my insurance policy? And I'm gone a lot, am I still covered? And so I thought I'd take a quick look at the Florida insurance market. And as everybody knows, we're a little different than a lot of other states, primarily because of major acts of God. The big ones are, of course, hurricane, lightning, and flooding, which a lot of states simply don't have, but we do. There's about 6 million policies written in Florida every year, and about 23% are written by Citizens Property Insurance Group. The top 3 write about 41%, and the top 25 write 76% of all the policies in Florida. So I decided to look at Citizens because it is the most common one out there. I reviewed their policies. Now I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I'm not an insurance agent, so I'm looking at it from a layman's point of view. What's interesting is how little there is in there defining what a lot of these terms are. The first thing I looked at, because we encounter this a lot, is fungi, wet or dry rot, bacteria issues. And I found if you qualify, which there's a big if there, the maximum they're going to pay is $10,000 against those kinds of problems. And I can say on average, when we've seen damage caused by these types of issues, they range probably from $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. So that's a big gap between $10,000 and $40,000. So you're better off catching these problems early on than letting them continue. Another big issue I found was vandalism and malicious mischief. One thing they're not going to cover you, if there hasn't been somebody in your house 30 days before that incident occurred, you're not covered. So there's a great case for Home Watch, that somebody's going in on a periodic basis, checking your home out, so that the insurance company can't come back and say, well, you haven't been in the house for 30 days, therefore we're not covering you from this vandalism or this burglary that just happened. It's, of course, particularly prevalent if you don't have your alarm systems turned on, which a lot of people don't turn on because they get false alarms. Well, I suggest that you sign up for Always Home key holder service, where we'll be there 24/7 to get the call from your alarm company. And we have partnered with the Hard Alarm Services to handle a lot of these kinds of issues. So if you're out of town, you should call Always Home. Another big issue is, of course, water damage that comes from leakages. It can be overflow of water from plumbing, air conditioning unit, automatic sprinkling systems, household appliances. And again here, it's very tricky about what is covered and what isn't covered. And my advice is make sure you catch these problems early. And appliances generally, they break down, are not covered under your homeowner's insurance policy. It also doesn't cover anything, any discharge from your neighbor's property coming onto your property. Those are excluded. Does not include irrigation systems, sump pumps, roof drains, gutters, downspouts, or similar fixtures. So think about how our gutters fill up with debris, and then that water backs up into your roofing shingles, and then you start getting leakage into your house. Sorry, not covered. So those are things that you need to be checking for on a periodic basis. And our inspections are either weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. We won't do less than monthly because we feel that we won't catch the problems early enough. Also excluded this big issue that's called neglect. And what does neglect mean? Neglect of the insured to use all reasonable means to save and preserve their property at and after the time of loss. Well, something happens in your home, you're unaware of it, they're going to accuse you of neglect because you weren't using prudent methods to follow up to make sure your house was remaining in good condition. Again, a perfect example of why you need Home Watch. Fungi, wet or dry rot, yeast or bacteria, the presence, growth, proliferation, or spread. That means if you don't catch this early, it's not covered. There are 2 exceptions: if the mold or dry rot is caused by lightning or fire. And I go, I haven't seen too many examples of mold caused by fire or lightning. Last thing I wanted to point out was make sure the following are done. If you have damage, you have to give the insurance company prompt notice. Again, you're not aware of it, how are you going to give them prompt notice? You got to notify the police promptly and file a report. Better know that something happened. You need to protect the property from further damage. And that means if repairs are required, you have to make reasonably responsive repairs quickly. Because if additional damage is caused because you didn't do it, guess what? Not covered by your insurance policy. And by the way, you need to keep accurate records, and the best time to create those records is before the incident, so I suggest you go out and get a video inventory of what's in your home. And not only just your personal effects, but your appliances. By the way, Always Home, when we do our home inventory, we do check all your appliances. We write down who the manufacturer is, serial numbers, and date of manufacture. Because often we can tell when a hot water heater is going to go based solely on their date of manufacture. Well, that's all for this week. Look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.